Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm Millie Weaver. It is Wednesday, May 17th, and here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, public enemy number one, George Soros. You know, the rich old white guy who funds Black Lives Matter. Well, he is now funding a black versus blue war where everyone gets bruised as the globalist push to divide and conquer America continues. Then, a Christian video game maker is about to launch a new gaming experience to fight the shadow government in real time. Owen Schroyer talks to game designer Tony Martin about this new concept to expose the New World Order. All that plus more evidence surfaces about DNC staffer Seth Rich. That's coming up next on the Infowars Nightly News.
The reason Infowars Live has 5-star ratings on major third-party sites is because I want products I'm going to use for my family. I take this, my family takes this, and then it funds the operation with the most hardcore, truthful information you're going to find anywhere. So what you find in our news is the same thing you find in our products at InfowarsLive.com.
If I ever forget to take them, I have a noticeable difference. I don't feel good. The nascent iodine is one of the ones that was life-changing for me.
Yeah, I actually have just run out of my super female. I had a few bottles at my house, and I've been taking it again, hitting the gym once again. Very exciting, feeling great, looking good. So, and I know my hair is luxurious once again. So obviously the super female is amazing. I love it.
Nascent iodine is essential. Survival Shield X2. If there's one product that I would say is life-changing that I would suggest, it's Nascent iodine Survival Shield X2. It's got a 5-star rating.
It's a win-win. InfowarsLive.com.
President Donald Trump is now the target of a coup d'etat against the deep state and intelligence agencies, as well as the mainstream media. Now, they are using Nazi Germany styles of propaganda in order to accomplish their goal of successfully character assassinating President Trump. Now, what's interesting to note is their methods that they use, it's basically telling a lie over and over and over again, and the masses will believe the lie. It becomes a 100th monkey syndrome to where everyone just starts believing it. Therefore, it becomes true in the public's opinion. Now, the problem with this is it's very hard to refute these propaganda memes out there circulating, such as this Russian collusion myth that's been going around that President Trump has been colluding with the Russians and that the Russians hacked the DNC and were responsible for the DNC leaks, which we all know went to WikiLeaks. Well, it's hard to disprove this when they're going around saying this based on no evidence at all whatsoever. There has not been any evidence that has come out suggesting that Trump has been colluding with the Russians. Now, this is actually really interesting here. This reporter, she is an Emmy award-winning reporter. Her name is Cheryl Atkinson. She actually had some insight into this that was actually really mesmerizing. It completely blew my mind. She posed this question. She said, if the Democratic National Committee or DNC, claimed its email system was hacked by Russia, why didn't it let the FBI examine its email server? Well, that should be basic common sense right there. The FBI, you would think, would seize this server of the DNC's and look into it, do some forensics, and trace this hacker, or even verify that, in fact, there was a hacker that had hacked the DNC's server. So why didn't the FBI do this? That really poses the question. And why has the DNC been sitting on this server and not been wanting it to be analyzed or investigated? Well, that would destroy their ability to continue this propaganda meme that's going around that Trump is colluding with the Russians and that the Russians are, they hacked the DNC leaks and it was all to conspire against Hillary Clinton and that's why Hillary Clinton lost. It's just to further, push this agenda to character assassinate Trump so that when they do actually go and try to assassinate him, people will not be enraged. People will not stand up because they will have already destroyed his character. Now, Russia has come out saying that they are prepared to release transcripts of the Trump-Lavrov meeting to debunk the witch hunt that's been going on. Well, if you don't know what has happened here, Putin has come out speaking against this meeting. Trump met with Lavrov, and it was simply to discuss ISIS and, getting Russia to go down and crack down on ISIS in the Middle East. They were talking about some humanitarian issues and, the risk of terrorism and airline flight safety. Well, of course, the mainstream media decides to go out there and start saying that Trump had leaked classified information to the Russians, and it's some huge Russian conspiracy that's been whirling around. And so Putin came out and he, this is kind of funny what he said here. It had me laughing. He said, "We see that the United States has been developing political schizophrenia." That's right. He says political schizophrenia. And that right there, it's kind of true because we are seeing some of the most crazy political battlegrounds that's been going on in this country right now. We've never seen anything like it. He says, "This is the only thing I can think of when I hear allegations saying that the president has revealed some secrets to Lavrov." He added jokingly, "I will have to reprimand him because he shared these secrets neither with me nor with the Russian secret services, which is very inappropriate on his part." So Putin's basically saying, well, I guess I'm going to have to punish Lavrov for not sharing these secrets that Trump supposedly shared with him. And Putin has said that he is more than willing to release the video recording of the meeting to the United States Congress if the Trump administration approves it, to basically debunk their witch hunt against President Trump. Another interesting story, man, they are just on the attack for President Trump. CNN's Bash admits Comey memo is a deep state revenge against Trump. So this CNN reporter pretty much admitted that it's just an attack. It's revenge for firing Comey. This Comey memo, if you don't know what it was, the New York Times had reported that Trump had told former FBI Director James Comey, "I hope you can see your way clear to getting this go, to letting Flynn go. He's a good guy. I hope you can let this go." So they put out this memo, which was from an anonymous source, and nobody has ever even seen this memo. Okay, it has as much credibility as that urine crazy golden shower gate story that had gone around with Trump not too long ago. So nobody's seen this at all whatsoever. And I mean, what do you do with this? And you have mainstream media pundits out there just saying, oh, well, this is what happens when you pick a fight with the intelligence community. You pick a fight with deep state and they come and they get back at you. And they're almost gloating about how powerful deep state is and you shouldn't cross them. Well, that's how you know we got a major problem and we do need to drain the swamp in this country. Another interesting story here is that, you know, okay, this is very interesting. First, Republicans talk about President Trump's impeachment. They start saying they want to see impeachment of President Trump. And then next thing you know, the stock market dips down. It shed 300 points and the Dow. And they are experts in the stock market are attributing this directly to Washington. They say this is Washington driven, and they haven't seen something like it since 1998 or 99, when the Monica Lewinsky scandal broke with Bill Clinton. So this is a direct correlation. When people's hopes disappear and their hopes get crushed, that President Trump is going to be left alone by these cronies, these crony capitalists, and do his best to fulfill his campaign promises to bring back jobs, the stock markets go up. Right after the election, the stock markets went up. Now, as Republicans are starting to backstab Trump and say they want to talk about impeachment, the stock markets go down. Well, another interesting story. Whistleblower Chelsea Manning has just been released today. Chelsea Manning is now free after 7 years in a military prison after Obama commuted her sentence. Well, many of you know that Chelsea Manning was originally going by Bradley Manning when these allegations came forth after she leaked classified information to WikiLeaks, Julian Assange at WikiLeaks. And this was huge information. It actually had video evidence showing U.S. helicopter crews indiscriminately killing Iraqi civilians. It was pretty brutal. The video footage went viral. And it was, you know, these murders were just dubbed collateral damage. It was just collateral murders. And so people have actually set up a GoFundMe for Chelsea Manning. And, you know, now that she's released, $150,000 has been raised to cover living expenses, utilities, and so on and so forth. So it should be pretty interesting to hear some of the stories that come out, what it was like being in prison as a whistleblower, because we all know that that very well could have been the destiny for Snowden after he had leaked. And I doubt Snowden would have been given the same pardon by President Obama. For more reports, go to Infowars.com for stories that the mainstream media won't tell you about.
President Donald Trump will soon decide who he will appoint as the next director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This is a crucial appointment. It's essential that the American people have confidence and trust in the next director of the FBI. It's equally important that President Trump have confidence in the person that he chooses. The list coming from the White House is some cause for concern. As we have seen in other deliberations for key positions in the government, the list is overloaded with establishment insiders who neither supported President Trump's candidacy nor support his current agenda to make America great again. Former Congressman Mike Rogers, who served as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, openly scoffed at the idea that the president, as candidate Trump, had been under surveillance at Trump Tower, although we now know that that is a certainty. Former Deputy Attorney General Alice Fisher is on the list. Paul Abate, an FBI veteran. Judge Mike Garcia of New York, who served as a former U.S. attorney. Larry Thompson, Deputy Attorney General under George W. Bush. And Andrew McCabe, that one is the acting director who stepped into Mr. Comey's shoes. This is particularly concerning because it was Mr. McCabe who wanted to use taxpayer money to pay for the phony dossier that claimed that Donald Trump had dallied with prostitutes in Russia. A total, complete forgery, an embarrassment to the FBI. And then, of course, there are the names who aren't on the list or who are not, who have taken themselves off. Former Congressman Trey Gowdy, an outsider who would have been an excellent appointee, has eliminated himself. My recommendation to President Trump is quite simple. I think he should appoint former New York Police Commissioner Ray Kelly. Kelly did a superb job as the police commissioner in New York, transforming that city from a crime capital to one of the safest cities in the United States. And because Senator Chuck Schumer supported the police commissioner Kelly for FBI director under Barack Obama, a position he did not receive, I think that Schumer would be hard-pressed to oppose Kelly's appointment. More importantly, Kelly is a New Yorker with a long relationship with President Donald Trump. He is clearly the best man for the job.
You have an investigation going on where the president is implicated.
Does intelligence exist that can definitively answer the following question: whether there were improper contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials?
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had anything that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
I understand that, but does it exist?
Not to my knowledge.
And this is a serious investigation. I've been trying to get people to focus on this connection with the Kremlin and with Putin.
Do you have evidence that there was in fact collusion between Trump associates and Russia during the campaign?
Not at this time.
I think there's enough there that we know about the Kremlin and about Putin to be concerned about whether or not there was collusion.
Well, as I stated, I don't know of any evidence of that.
Was Mr. Clapper wrong when he said that?
I think he's right about characterizing the report, which you all have read.
So to be clear, you think, and I believe that they should have to connect the dots and get the facts, because I think it will lead to the impeachment of this president.
Can you say definitively that there was collusion? There were people affiliated with the Trump campaign who were working with Russians?
I don't think we can say anything definitively at this point.
You keep saying there's a lot more smoke.
There's a lot more smoke.
You think the fire's there?
Listen, time will tell.
Everybody go at this investigation until we get to the facts and to the bottom line, which was their conclusion. I believe that there was.
I had no evidence that was presented to me of collusion.
Now, have you seen anything, either intelligence briefings, through intelligence briefings, anything to back up any of the accusations that you've made?
They have the documentation that they did the hacking.
The hacking.
On the DNC.
Right.
And on some of us, you know. That
but the collusion, though?
No, we have not.
Was their conclusion? I believe that there was.
But the collusion, though?
No, we have not.
You've got to have the will to accept the truth and buck the system and the group collective. Do that, and you'll earn your way to the next level. This is the Infowar. Infowars has partnered with Defender Body Armor to bring you a new state-of-the-art line of advanced, highly tested body armor from InfoWarsStore.com. Defender Body Armor is certified to protect against all handgun rounds and even armor-piercing FN 5.7 pistol rounds. The secret to Defender Body Armor is its proprietary processing technology that disperses more kinetic energy at a rate higher than any other traditional body armor, using one of the strongest synthetic materials ever created, called ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene. Defender armor is also super compact and lightweight. There's a reason the Department of Defense chose Defender to manufacture their new line of advanced lightweight armor. It works. Defender body armor is made right here in America and has received the highest level ballistic resistance certification from an authorized NIJ ballistic laboratory. Defender body armor is now available through InfoWarsStore.com, so you can defend yourself, your family, and finance the info war against the globalists all at the same time. A total 360 win.
You provided Alex with the caveman.
Well, so we've been formulating this stuff for a while, and we've been getting these different flavors, and I don't know about this one, and so I've been taking that stuff, and I'm an old man. I'm 42. I work out 5 times a week, if not more.
I hear you're okay in jiu-jitsu. That's what I hear.
No, I'm not. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. But the point is that I have a lot of aches and shoulders, and there's weird joint stuff that I've had issues with for years. And this bone broth, the caveman bone broth, along with our joint formula, has just worked magic for me. And that's just that's just from my personal experience. I think they're great products, and I think if anybody else has those issues, that you should definitely, you owe it to yourself to check it out. If I'm wrong, then hey man, write me a mean letter. But let me tell you, they work for me. And so,
yeah, they work for me too. We were talking about this earlier. Du and I play basketball, and I'm just now, like for the first time in my life, I'm 27 now. After I play basketball, my knees are barking. But the bone broth and the joint formula, like you just said, you combine those two. I felt the difference immediately. I felt it immediately.
Yeah, and it actually tastes good. Like, I'm really picky, and I will drink it. It tastes good to me. I love chocolate, so I really like the flavor of the caveman. So, I mean, if the bone broth if the bone broth is really that gross, I mean, I would never have known because it tastes really good. And my favorite is the Super Female Vitality. So ladies, get yourself some Super Female Vitality if you haven't already, because it just gets me going. I mean, I'll take a whole bunch of that stuff before I go out and do
get it for your wife then too, or girlfriend.
Right? I go and take a bunch of it before I go do Man on the Street, and I just start running, zipping around, running right into the action. No fear, nothing. So,
well, that's a big primary part about fighting the globalists, is making sure that we stay healthy and stay clear-eyed and stay honest and stay humble. I hope that we do that here at Infowars. We got a lot going on, and we're in the middle of the fight, so we really appreciate it when anybody supports us, either by purchasing our products, or you can even go onto our store and donate. We're doing this by the skin of our teeth. I know it looks like we're in a $1 billion studio, but Alex has never taken 1 cent of borrowed money at all whatsoever. This is all money that's come from you, the listeners. So you have literally built this place, built this place with your compassion, and built this place with the support that you've sent us. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it, because I know we wouldn't be able to do this, and we wouldn't have a voice if it wasn't for you. So once again, we got to thank the listeners for their steadfastness in supporting us. And even when we make mistakes, and even when we're not right, and even when we might go a little bit crazy, you guys stick with us, and I appreciate that.
Millie Weaver reporting for Infowars.com. Recent revelations regarding Seth Rich, the former DNC staffer that was found murdered in Washington, D.C., have come out after his family hired a private investigator. Now, this private investigator is saying that there's correspondence between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks during this time period in which the DNC leaks occurred. It's interesting to note here that a D.C. police officer had said to this private investigator that they were ordered to stand down. That's very unusual to have a police department standing down on a murder investigation.
New information from the family's private investigator suggests there is tangible evidence on Seth Rich's laptop that confirms he was communicating with WikiLeaks prior to his death. The Rich family hired Rod Wheeler, a former MPD homicide detective, to run a parallel investigation into their son's death. Wheeler says he believes there's a cover-up, and the police department has been told to back down from the investigation.
So that would put Seth Rich as the potential DNC leaker and not the Russians. This would essentially destroy the fake news narrative that the mainstream media and Democrats had been pushing, saying that Trump was colluding with the Russians and that the Russians interfered with the election. Well, this presumes that the DNC leaks actually had a major effect on the outcome of the presidential election, which all of the polls tend to say otherwise. It doesn't actually show that the DNC leaks played a major role into whether or not people were going to vote for Hillary Clinton. In fact, the reason Hillary Clinton lost is because 2/3 of prior Obama voters actually chose to then vote for President Trump. It's also interesting to note that less than an hour after this Seth Rich murder case, Washington Post posted an article claiming that Trump was leaking top secret clearance information to the Russians. So was that article just an attempt to continue to cover up the Seth Rich murder case? Let's go see just how effective the mainstream media and Democratic Party has been at swaying the public's opinion away from the Seth Rich story and into this Russian fake news narrative storyline. Let's go see what they have to say. What do you think about the narrative that's been going around that the Russians interfered in the presidential election?
It's true.
You think so?
Yes, absolutely. Trump's a liar.
I don't believe it. I think it's media hype.
He's a lot more political than I am. I don't watch any of that. I get really depressed.
Did you hear about the DNC leaks or the WikiLeaks?
A little bit, but I don't know much about it, to be honest.
Did you hear about this story that's kind of been going around that the Russians interfered in the presidential election?
This I heard about.
Everyone's heard about it.
Maybe a little bit here and there, but nothing I know in depth, no.
I mean, I've heard about that like vaguely on the news.
I don't know what to think about it. I don't have enough information. I don't keep up with the news very much anymore.
Do you remember seeing any like evidence of the Russians hacking the election out there?
No, just a lot of talk as usual.
I think there's enough evidence to probably think that there's some truth to it.
What do you think some of the evidence is? Like, do you know any of it specifically?
No, not really. Just from, I mean, I can't bring up anything specifically, but stuff that I've read, stuff that I've seen.
Do you think that the Russians stole the election from Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, I do.
During the primaries, I believe it was, where he seemed to, out of nowhere, just really get a lot of support compared to, seems like a lot of folks are on the outside of like Bernie and Hillary.
How do you think that the Russians has anything to do with people supporting Trump?
That's a very difficult question to ask.
Do you think that it could be possible that maybe Hillary Clinton didn't win the election because she didn't capture those former Obama voters?
No. Nope. I don't think so.
Honestly, at this point, everything I read and see I take with a grain of salt.
Do you think it's true?
I don't know if it's true, but it's kind of concerning that there's talks about it at all.
Have you heard about Seth Rich, the former DNC staff?
I cannot say I have, ma'am.
Did you hear about him all? He was a DNC staffer with the Democratic Party.
I don't think so. I'm not too familiar.
No.
Have you heard about him at all?
No.
No.
Who is it?
He was murdered back in July, and his body was found in Washington. Did you hear about him?
Yeah, but I don't know anything about it.
I have not, no.
Have you heard about him?
No. Did not.
I have not.
Not at all?
No, I haven't, sorry.
I haven't.
No, we have not.
No, I haven't.
I have a peripheral memory of that piece, but nothing specific.
He was probably an asshole, so.
You think that they murdered him just because he was an asshole?
Yeah, probably. You know.
You don't think that it would be because he might have leaked stuff? You know, he was a Democratic Party person that was working in IT, and he had the ability to leak stuff, and we're having evidence coming out by private investigators hired by his family that, you know, he was in correspondence with WikiLeaks. So do you think that
WikiLeaks doesn't have anything to do with the Russians?
WikiLeaks was the site that all the information was leaked to. They're just a platform for leaked information.
For the Russians?
No, WikiLeaks was by it's put on by a guy named Julian Assange.
According to MSNBC, I believe they had some kind of connection there.
Assange doesn't have any connection to the Russians. What they're trying to say is that the Russians hacked the DNC emails and leaked them. That was the original storyline. And now evidence is coming out that Seth Rich, who was found murdered after the DNC leaks, his laptop showed correspondence with WikiLeaks.
Yeah, stuff can happen.
Sounds plausible. And now he's dead. Yikes. Yikes.
It's suspicious, but not surprising, because that kind of thing happens quite often, actually, and just goes, you know, almost unnoticed a lot of times.
Under this administration, everyone's a potential leaker.
Do you think that watching the mainstream media at all has affected your opinion on all of this?
It has definitely shown that there's definitely a lot of sensationalism out there, and that it definitely does very good for the American people to do research on their own. It's very unfortunate that we have to tune into something like the BBC or NPR to really get like the full story compared to mainstream media, which is more obsessed with sensationalism than the real deal.
Do you think it's possible that even NPR and BBC could be not telling the truth?
That's a very, very good possibility. You raise a really good point there.
Not surprising. Most of the people I talked to had no idea who Seth Rich was and what were the stories surrounding his mysterious murder. However, most people did know about the mainstream media claim that the Russians interfered in the presidential election. This just goes to show that they have been very successful at getting people. Nice one, dude. We got a Bill Clinton's Ravens shout out heckler right there. That's pretty awesome. But it just goes to show that the mainstream media has been very successful in getting everybody caught up in this Russian claim, this mainstream media claim that the Russians hacked the election, whereas they've gotten everybody diverted away from the true story with Seth Rich, who was found mysteriously murdered after many people believe he leaked the DNC leaks. This is Millie Weaver signing off for Infowars.com.
Did you know that only 6 corporations control 90% of what millions of Americans see, hear, and read every single day? It's the illusion of choice. Think about it. The mainstream media is owned by only a handful of megacorporations with vested interests. But on the other hand, the internet is an interconnected network of billions of sources. So you can research information for yourself from multiple sources, or you can blindly accept what you hear or read in the mainstream media, never questioning what you are being told. This gives you a false sense of reality. I mean, do you actually know what you think you know? Or have you been programmed to accept someone else's version of events? Think about it. This is Darren McBreen, and I want you to break the matrix at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv and listen to The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on your mind.
Electrify your day with Secret 12. It's like lightning in a bottle. We all have days in which we just can't seem to perform at the level we'd like to. Infowars Life Secret 12 is designed to naturally energize your body and mind with 2 great tasting and super high quality forms of vitamin B12. Proper vitamin and nutrient intake is essential to keep your body functioning at optimum levels. The reality is, it's hard to take in the proper amount of vitamins we need each day with our modern diets. Secret 12 by Infowars Life is an easy way to naturally upgrade your vitamin B12 intake and support your body's natural systems. It pairs 2 forms of vitamin B12 into one explosive formula. Vitamin B12 supports healthy energy levels through red blood cell formation and aiding in the body's natural processes, but it also assists with many other functions of the body. Electrify your mind and body and take your health to the next level. Experience the power of Secret 12 at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Vitamin Mineral Fusion. Visit InfoWarsLife.com to secure your canister. We have worked for years with our chemists and scientists to create the most powerful and affordable, great-tasting multivitamin formula available. Vitamin Mineral Fusion Drink Mix at InfoWarsLife.com is loaded with a full month's supply of essential vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that your body absolutely needs. In the history of InfoWars Life, we've brought out a lot of amazing products like Survival Shield X2, Super Male Vitality, and so many others. With its unique delivery system and proprietary manufacturing process designed for maximized effects, this formula is the platinum standard of multivitamin mineral products. And this part is most important. The ingredients in Vitamin Mineral Fusion are either plant-derived or of the highest quality lab standard. That means it's clean. That means it's pure. And rest assured, you're fighting the tip of the spear in the info war. That's InfoWarsLife.com and Vitamin Mineral Fusion. Take action now before we sell out. We have the new product at InfoWarsLife.com, BioTrue Selenium.
We've had so many requests over the years for selenium, and just recently, we were able to source a certified organic, bioavailable selenium from mustard seed extract. When you take selenium in the body, it actually benefits the detoxification systems in your body. It helps balance the thyroid gland. It helps detoxify.
Selenium is another one of those absolute must-haves.
The highest concentration of selenium is in the thyroid gland, but it's actually used all over the body. As a matter of fact, there's 25 genes in the body that are directly dependent upon selenium. So it really is a all-around nutrient that everybody really needs.
I'm taking it now every day. This is so key. BioTrue Selenium is the product, the best selenium that we could bring you. We believe it's the best out there at a very, very low price. Exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. We're selling a product, DNA Force, that is the very best nutraceutical that we can produce. Dr. Group, you took years for you to develop DNA Force for us.
It's been something that I've been working on for a long time, Alex, because I think it's very, very important. What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying.
We chose the PQQ because it has over 175 different clinical trials. It's one of the most effective substances in the world. It works like an antioxidant. It works to repair nerve growth factor.
So this is a formula to deliver the maximum amount. It's in powder form.
We have so many 5-star reviews. I take this. This is the product that I take.
InfoWarsLife.com, and the profit we make. We fight the globals. We fight the New World Order. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
We are now joined by Tony Martin. He is the co-founder of the first Christian video game site on the internet, jillgames.com. And Tony actually came to our attention when we found out he wanted to create a series of video games that actually reveals the New World Order plans to undermine our national sovereignty in America. Thank you for joining me, Tony.
Hey, it's an honor to be here with you, and thank you so much.
So this is an interesting project that you guys are working on at jillgames.com. I imagine it's a pretty original thing. You've had some experience making interactive games based on Bible verses and stuff in the past, but now you're upping it and you're making a New World Order revealing, a globalist revealing video game. Tell me about how you came upon thinking up this project.
Thank you, Owen. Again, this is actually inspired by, I believe, God and Alex. And Alex had been a fan and supporter and discovered him all the way back in 2003 on Coast to Coast. Never heard of Bohemian Grove. And from that point on, just became attached to Infowars and a fan. And just God used him as just a bulldozer to open up a lot of what's really going on in the world. In the process of that, because he inspired it, he would say, he'd get callers all the time that would say, hey, Alex, you need to do this different, and you need to do that. And Alex would say, hey, I'm doing everything I can. How about you guys doing it? And let's make this a movement, not just a one-person thing. I mean, this is back in like 04 or 05. And God sort of gave me a vision at that point to pull together some programmers. It's taken a lot of years to see it actually happen, and put in a video game format, exposing what's actually happening around us in the prison planet, that grid that's being being put into place. And so it's our hope and prayer. And in that process, I work for a company called Kingsgate Media, where literally 4 of our top programmers from another company have said, yes, we want to come over. We want to help with this. These guys have worked on things like Call of Duty, Transformers, Fall of Cybertron, big games with just, you would know their names. And now, not all of them totally want their names out there in front. And that's why our lead programmer, Justin Elms, has taken he's like, I don't mind. He sees all this. He's amazing. We use the Unreal 4 engine, which is the most recent used for like Final Fantasy VII, and numerous games are shifting to that. But so they're well versed in that. We want to put out a top-of-the-line game that'll originally be launched on Steam platform. It used to be Greenlight. I guess it's Steam Direct now. And we hope to move that to Google Play, to the iStore, make it downloadable. And we're having a fundraiser. If you go to our website and you happen to want to help us, anybody that gets behind this on Kickstarter, all we need is about 400 or 500 Infowars to make this game happen. And it takes about 7 months to a year to get it concluded. But in that next year, we're hoping to send beta versions to Infowars and let Alex had mentioned wanting to play it. So we would love to do that. But in there, we want to reveal several layers in the storyline of what's actually going on in the New World Order and the Illuminati, and from a Christian perspective, end times scenarios.
Well, I love it. You know, you're saying, hey, this is a call to action. I can't expect somebody else to do it. I'm going to get out there and do it myself. Now you're putting in the legwork. You're trying to get this game out there to the public. You know, that's amazing. You talk about these other big game, companies, producers coming in here and saying, hey, maybe we don't want our name associated with this. They're a little afraid. I think that tells you kind of a sign of the political correct times. I still salute them for wanting to be involved. But just give me a little more detail. Let's talk about the details of the games. Talk about what kind of play this is, what type of game, what kind of action, what is the age group that you're expecting would be enjoying this type of game?
Oh, man, great questions on all of them. Okay, so we were hoping in the storyline, if I can give that real quickly, it's based on a script that I'd written. I'd hoped to see made into a movie. Obviously, that didn't happen, but we're going to use it. We transported it over into the game. And what will happen is it's set several years in the future, hypothetically, right? And the globalists are seizing more and more control, not because the nations want it, but because just like what's happening today, it's being forced down our throats. And so as evil always rises, an underground rises. So there's an underground in this game, and you're part of the underground. And there are elements within the U.S. military, as Alex has covered, that are still loyal, and I think by and large. So these elements within the U.S. military, they're loyal to God and Constitution. They are funneling information, equipment to the underground, and the underground is going to thwart and stall the installment of a one world global, government, financial system, all of those things. And so you're part of the underground. Your character's dropped on an island that's called Akkadian Island, and that ties into their whole Babylonian roots and everything. And I know we have a brief time here, but one of the things a lot of things are going to be covered during the video vignettes, just as every movie, every game has that. You're going to have a storyline. We got video actors. I mean, all of that. You're going to have video vignettes that move the storyline along. You're going to learn about Jekyll Island. You're going to learn about the creation of the the Federal Reserve, the reason why there are central banks.
Well, and excuse me for cutting you off here for a second,
that's fine.
But from what I saw that you had helped make in the past, which was more targeted towards kids and youth, it appears to me that this is more of a role-playing game that would be targeted to an older audience, perhaps teenagers, even older, that's more flashy, more exciting, more explosive, where they're not just getting the action-packed game, but there's also a plot that can kind of make them think, perhaps.
Absolutely. This is teens to adults, to be honest. Absolutely. It's going to have action. It's going to have adventure. It's going to be, again, like 3 of our 4 programmers have come over. Their credentials are incredible. They don't, again, want their names out in front right now because they're afraid of getting blacklisted. And we understand that. We're just thankful they want to be a part of this. But this would be a game that when you get it, it would be on the level. God willing, we've got to get the funding, but it'll be on the level of anything you played out there. And in fact, our lead programmer, Justin Elms, is gifted at virtual reality, at 3D animations. He said we're going to have a point at which, because there will be a CERN Hadron Collider, we're going to cover the CERN, what they're doing with scalar technology and the weapons. And I believe that it fits into Bible prophecy. So they can go to our page, that JILgames.com, stands for Jesus is Lord. Please go to that and check out the background of that game. Most of it's on the Kickstarter, but it's going to be for, honestly, teens and adults. And this game is going to be real, and it's going to have a list at the end of the game and at various increments of the game. Your character is going to have this palm information thing that's coming from the underground, and you're going to see, and we're going to get almost almost everything, even though the story is fictional, virtually everything in the game is going to be based on articles that are out there. We're going to show them throughout the game or in the credits 100%. Everything you're seeing in this game is fact, and it's being built around you right now. And if ever there was a time to wake up, it's now, because I believe, I'm very optimistic, and I believe in God, and I believe there's biblical precedent for God forestalling end-time events because people repented or woke up. And I think it's happened. Alex has been a key part of it. I think it's happened many times in the last 30, 40, 50 years where they wanted it to be now, and it didn't work out for them. And so we're hoping to actually get a lot of programmers. Ultimately, we want, like Alex said, we don't want this to be a one-man band. We want this, once you have one hit, you have other people want to copy it. So we're hoping this leads to an entire movement, and a bunch of programmers stop being afraid, and they get out there and start. Because, you know, programmers, just like any techie, they see what's happening.
Yeah, and I was actually, that's kind of where I was going to go next. You know, you guys, obviously, Jill Games being in control of this, you can control your own destiny. You can put whatever you want in there. You've obviously already got your narrative, your script written, ready to go. It sounds really exciting, like the perfect kind of app for flying. I fly a lot. That'd be something I'm excited to do on your phone or your tablet. But it is amazing to think, you know, you talk about these big name programmers coming in, you talk about these techies and, you know, video game programmers. They know what's going on. I think you can see some of the narratives and some of the stuff being pushed in some games out there. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Is it the people, and you're saying these people are coming in, they want to work with you. Obviously, they don't want to get blacklisted from their companies, but you're saying that just the kind of concept and the notion that this video game is coming out is kind of starting to draw some attention from within the industry.
Absolutely, and again, it's just all credit in the world to even have a couple of these guys decide, hey, well, you know, because they have their own company names, and they said, you know what, we're going to quietly come in on this. We'll work with you. Again, it takes funding, so please, again, just about 400 to 500 Infowars will make this game happen if they want to. And we have some of the best perks I've ever seen on Kickstarter. If you guys would go to that and check it out. But that being said, absolutely, they know, they can see, they're in the tech world, they can see how we're being built into this 1984 quote-unquote prison planet, and the guys that are dealing with us are specifically Christians, so they know about the end times, Book of Revelation, Daniel, that type of stuff. But nevertheless, there's even the techies that aren't, and we believe this is going to be a secular crossover game. We're aligning it so that it could hit all markets, to the patriot and to the truther. But that being said, yeah, the techies aren't stupid. They know what's happening out there, and I think it emboldens them, just like Alex has done. It emboldens when you see somebody getting successful at it, waking up millions of people. If we could even just have that one hit, by the grace of God, it's going to wake up a lot of other techies, and they're going to embolden. They're going to get emboldened to say, you know what, we're not going to roll over here, man. We are fighting for freedom. Let's do it. And there are other games out there that are like Assassin's Creed, where I have a lot of people say, well, that's exposing the Templars. I'm like, but it's another false paradigm behind that one. It's just a trap. This is going to be a game that really, really, really exposes the globalists, all their powers, all their agendas, and we're only beholden to God for the truth if we have the money. That's all. We have the talent now. This is in this last year, it's all come together.
That's Tony Martin from JillGames.com. Thank you for joining us, Tony.
Thank you, Owen.
Alex Jones here with a very important news update to anybody out there that wants to be prepared. But it goes beyond being prepared. Our bodies absolutely must have the good halogen iodine, or we will die. And you look at all of the thyroid problems and all the people that don't have energy and that have all sorts of hormone problems. And from my research, and a lot of just mainline research, it leads back to iodine over and over and over again. It's as important as vitamin C. If you don't get iodine, you die. But most people are just deficient, so they're low energy, they're sick. You got to have iodine in your body so that your body can produce the hormones you need. It is the base to so many things. And since I got into iodine 4 years ago, we've helped change the entire paradigm by developing and bringing to the public deep earth crystals from 7,000 to 12,000 feet of the purest iodine available. Other iodine comes from the ocean or from other byproducts of chemical facilities, and it's tainted. It's bound. It's not absorbable. I tried it. And I had incredible effects even with dirty iodine because the body needs it. When you don't have iodine, it absorbs the chlorine, the fluoride, and all these other bad halogens. Do yourself and your family a favor and check out the importance of iodine for yourself. I think you're going to be blown away. And whatever you do, support the broadcast and get a bottle of Survival Shield Nascent Iodine X2. Also consult your physician, because if you've been deficient in it or have other issues, it can have some dramatic effects. As for me and most folks I talk to, it's been a game changer in the positive column, but still consult your physician, because iodine is no joke. It's a key building block of the body. And if you haven't had it for a long time and suddenly have it, some folks say they've experienced things like a detoxing effect and things like that. You've got to have vitamin C. You've got to have iodine to live. You've got to have water to live. Iodine is key. You must have it. But consult your physician first before you get powerful Survival Shield Nascent Iodine X2 at InfoWarsLife.com, or call toll-free. We can answer your questions, 888-253-3139.
We're going to talk to Lee Stranahan. And of course, we've talked to him before. He's been a reporter from a wide variety of news outlets, from Breitbart to Huffington Post. You can find him at thepopulist.us, also on Twitter at Stranahan. I know you wanted to talk about what's happening with George Soros and his war on law enforcement in Florida. You got a whole series on that at thepopulist.us.
I think this is especially important, David, because it's police week. And we've already had 2 cops shot and 1 killed this week. This is when we honor police. George Soros is being engaged last year. He spent millions of dollars in local races. And he's had an effect in Florida. An attorney, a state's attorney he helped elect, said she's not going to file the death penalty on any cases, including that of an alleged cop killer. I have it at thepopulist.us. We're going to have more coming on this. This is how Soros doesn't just affect things internationally and nationally, but he's now working on a local level, David, and it's very dangerous, especially to law enforcement. The way I like to work is, and what we're doing at The Populist, is I give people enough material, completely vetted research material. There's no conjecture here, so people can look into it themselves, because I've noticed people who like news like digging into stuff, right? And so sure. George Soros last year launched an initiative where in 11 different states, he began putting money into municipal and state attorneys' races. Now, this is really smart. Don't forget, George Soros, I don't like the guy, but he's a genius, okay? He's an economic genius. And he realized, simple economics, most of these local district attorney races, people spend like $1,000. Does that, you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the old slogan, think globally and act locally. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's working at the grassroots level. That's why it's so difficult to get people to act at the local level. They only want to look at politics at the highest level, at the national level. Usually only at the presidential level do they get interested.
That's right. And Soros saw an opportunity here. And so what he did was, and again, this is verified by Wall Street Journal, Politico. This is no conjecture here, okay? He put money into 11 different races. He helped knock Sheriff Joe out of Maricopa County, for instance.
Yes. Spent a lot of money there, yeah.
The way he did it's real simple. In most of these races, he could put $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 into a race. In the case, for instance, in New Mexico, in Bernalillo County, the Republican opponent literally had to withdraw because he was being outspent so badly. He literally just said, I quit, okay?
Wow.
Now, this was very effective. And because it's happening on a state and municipal level, it sort of rolled under the radar. There were a few, like I say, Politico wrote about it, Wall Street Journal wrote about it, Daily Signal wrote about it, but there were some national stories, and I wrote about it a little bit too, because you have to remember, of course, David, George Soros was also a big funder of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things I detail in that Populist story, I did a big 3-part series, because people often ask me, they'll say, what's Soros after? Right? What's his goal? And I know what his goal is. The Black Lives Matter movement, one of their goals is literally prison abolition, okay? And that's because they're spiritual, they're not just spiritual. The grandfather of the Black Lives Matter is founded by 3 women, Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi. Patrisse Cullors' mentor was a guy named Eric Mann. Eric Mann was a Weather Underground radical and associated Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorns. And what they believed in was what the Black Panther Party believed in 1966. It's in their program. They want to release every black person from prison. That's their explicit goal. Their argument is that no black person has ever received a fair trial in the United States because it's a racist country. That's their argument. So Eric Mann wrote a book about this guy, George Jackson. His girlfriend was Angela Davis. You've heard about Angela.
Oh, yeah.
Free Angela with the hair. And Angela Davis is the inspiration for Michelle Alexander. Michelle Alexander wrote the book, The New Jim Crow. And Angela Davis is a prison abolitionist. She's written major works on this. Michelle Alexander, There's video of her up. Just Google on YouTube, Angela Davis, Michelle Alexander, and you'll find Michelle Alexander sitting next to Angela Davis saying, "This is my inspiration." So what they talk about is and here's the way they sell it, David, and it appeals to libertarians, so it's interesting. They'll say mandatory minimum sentences. Well, you end up with nonviolent drug offenders, and we need to ease up on nonviolent drug offenders. Now, that's an argument that I think for people like you and I is probably pretty compelling. We'd go.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I covered that yesterday. I talked about Senator Rand Paul saying, you want to know what the real Jim Crow laws are? It's the mandatory minimums, because that's what's locking up people. And we know that black people are not using drugs at a higher rate than white people are, but they're going to prison at a much higher rate. But the mandatory minimum thing is just drug prohibition, the drug war in general, is something that is very troubling. And I think that Attorney General Sessions' movement to restore this mandatory minimum stuff, I think that is really going to backfire on them politically. And I think it's going to feed this whole Black Lives Matter movement.
I've said the same thing, and I got to point out that I'm sympathetic to that argument, but I want to point out the danger here, because there is one. I could show you video of the leaders of this movement, including a former Symbionese Liberation Army. Remember the SLA, Patty Hearst?
Yeah.
Former SLA guy. They admit that they use the nonviolent drug offenders. They say, look, there's only a few 100,000 of those nonviolent drug offenders. Our actual goal is to release 11 million people from prison. By the way, 11 million people from prison is the entire prison population. I could show you a video where they admit that. So the danger is they're very smart, you see. They understand they need to get a little bit of a coalition going. And so they understand libertarians like Rand Paul, like the Koch brothers, okay, will come out and they're in favor of that. And again, I'm sympathetic to that argument. I think especially when it comes to, I agree with you. Nobody who voted for Donald Trump wanted Jeff Sessions to go after marijuana users. Nobody, okay? That being said, I think we need to be a little careful of what the end goal is. And you can keep both of those things in mind, right? You can say...
And I think when we look at George Soros, the bigger picture, the final end game, I believe, is something like we've seen in the color revolutions that he's funded throughout Europe in terms of creating and he has to have a good cause here. And what they have done throughout Europe is basically they create revolutions, I think, based on based on economic classes. Here we have the sense of upward mobility except for racial classes. So what they try to do is they try to create and build on this racial division. That's what Bill Ayers and the rest of them have historically done to sell their communist movement when they brought it here. They brought it here based on a racial movement rather than economic classes like they did in Europe. And I think that's really where this is headed. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. Not only that, let me prove your point. We talked about this. I was in a film called Occupy en Masse with my friend Andrew Breitbart, directed by Steve Bannon. In Occupy en Masse, which is about the Occupy Wall Street movement, Anita Moncrief is one of the people in the film. She says at the end, the next step in this is going to be moving it to race. Yes. Because if you look at Occupy Wall Street, it was about class, 1% versus 99%. And it didn't really kick in.
That doesn't work in America, but race does work in America. Yeah.
Exactly right, which is why the next iteration of it was Black Lives Matter, which directly connects to Occupy Wall Street, but they've changed the tactics. Now, by the way, where's Black Lives Matter moved now? What's the current state of the movement? Antifa.
Yes.
The current state, we went from Occupy Wall Street. I see a line between Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter. And by the way, if you trace the line back, you go to the WTO Battle for Seattle in the 90s. And if you keep tracing it back, you get to the Weather Underground. I mean, when I say this, literally, Eric Mann is the mentor of Patrisse Cullors from Black Lives Matter. He recruited her, his word, when she was 17 and a half years old. She spent the next 12 years with him learning revolutionary organizing. Then she started Black Lives Matter. So when I say a direct line, I mean literally she learned at the feet of Eric Mann, whose hero was George Jackson, who was connected to Angela Davis directly. I mean, not just connected; they were lovers. I mean.
If you look at Bill Ayers and you look at the fact that it was the Weather Underground that created white skin privilege. They've now shortened it to white privilege. And then he stopped bombing buildings and started educating kids in his propaganda, his racialism.
To watch more of David Knight's report, go to the Alex Jones YouTube channel. And have a good night, guys. We will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central.
I am very proud to announce the introduction of the high-quality, known probiotics that have been proven to improve overall digestion. Highest quality Infowars Biome Defense Probiotic. We wanted to come out with the largest spectrum of high-quality, known probiotics that have been proven to improve overall digestion and health and detoxification in the body. Biome Defense is an exclusive blend of 50 billion live and active cultures from over 23 different probiotic strains that are known to support digestion and intestinal function. Our researchers are confident that we have been able to develop what will be the leading probiotic on the market. Secure your Biome Defense in ultra strength or regular strength at InfoWarsLife.com today and get started supporting your digestive system naturally. We've been testing this formula for years, but this is the limited first run to the public, so please take advantage of it today. Support your own health and support the InfoWar.
Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm Millie Weaver. It is Wednesday, May 17th, and here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, public enemy number one, George Soros. You know, the rich old white guy who funds Black Lives Matter. Well, he is now funding a black versus blue war where everyone gets bruised as the globalist push to divide and conquer America continues. Then, a Christian video game maker is about to launch a new gaming experience to fight the shadow government in real time. Owen Schroyer talks to game designer Tony Martin about this new concept to expose the New World Order. All that plus more evidence surfaces about DNC staffer Seth Rich. That's coming up next on the Infowars Nightly News.
The reason Infowars Life has 5-star ratings on major third-party sites is because I want products I'm going to use for my family. I take this, my family takes this, and then it funds the operation with the most hardcore, truthful information you're going to find anywhere. So what you find in our news is the same thing you find in our products at InfoWarsLife.com.
If I ever forget to take them, like I have a noticeable difference. I don't feel good. The nascent iodine is one of the ones that was life-changing for me.
Yeah, I actually have just run out of my super female. I had a few bottles at my house, and I've been taking it again, hitting the gym once again. Very exciting, feeling great, looking good. So, and I know my hair is luxurious once again. So obviously the super female is amazing. I love it.
Nascent iodine is essential. Survival Shield X2. If there's one product that I would say is life-changing that I would suggest, it's Nascent iodine Survival Shield X2. It's got a 5-star rating.
It's a win-win. InfoWarsLife.com.